Administration Through the Ages, presented by Corinne Lindsay. So I haven't quite finished my paper, but an overview of this presentation is the classical theories of Frederick Taylor's efficiency, Max Weber's bureaus, and Woodrow Wilson's centralization. This can be seen in the works of the theorists from the 1960s and 70s as well, those theories of Katz-Kahn, Gradzins, and Downes. I'm focusing specifically on the life cycle of the Bureau and how all the theories can be tied into it. On the next slide, I'll show the classics and the 60s and 70s theories and how they tie into the life cycle of the Bureau. And then I'll advise on my point of view with regards to these theories. So in the classics, we'll start off with Woodrow Wilson, how he felt the need to centralize government. This is not really surprising since he was the president, and why wouldn't the president want centralized government and more power to boot? Then we have the bureaucracy with Max Weber, how bureaus are a separation of jurisdictional areas formed to carry out the administrative tasks ordered by rules or laws. How there should be a hierarchical system within bureaus, and those at the top shall be chosen by their merits. Then Frederick Taylor, who's running around trying to time everything and break everything down so that it can be analyzed and made more efficient. These three are integrated into Downes' theory of the Bureau's life cycle. Gradzins, Katz-Kahn are also integrated because they talk about how there needs to be a system of input and output, as well as a pattern that's developed to obtain resources and to use as little as possible to produce. This is essential to the life cycle of a bureau in that without the ability to obtain resources and use them wisely, the bureau is going to fail. So Gradzins brings in some Wilson with the American system and how, regardless of the separation of state and federal government, the feds are marbleizing, his term, into our local government through the main use of grant funding. So basically, they give little bureaus money and resources with some leeway on how they can use them. But once the more local bureaus partake in these grants, they're essentially integrating into the federal system, or vice versa, the federal system, they're allowing them to integrate into them. Because in order for the bureaus to survive, they must remain relevant and continue to show that they can function within their means, as well as grow and be able to maintain a good source of employees. Those who are considered climbers, they're ambitious and innovative thinkers, and they want to climb the promotional ladder. And then there's the conservers who will do the work as desired, but they'll basically stay in place. They don't really have ambitions to climb or move forward. They're content with where they are. And they both have desired qualities, but there can't be too many of either. There has to be a decent amount of conservers as well as climbers. So here we are on my view of the Bureau's life cycles. It's that I can see how each ebb and flow is produced even within my own bureau. I work under administration, but I oversee many different smaller bureaus that would not exist without me overtaking them, which Downes refers to as swallowing them up to keep them alive. And it also keeps my larger bureau relevant in the eyes of the department. For instance, internal affairs. This is a tricky bureau because it could be a part of admin or a part of operations. Since most IA cases come out of operations, which is operations is patrol, Then I swallowed it under my command with administration, so it would make my bureau larger and more relevant, because patrol is always a necessity. It's a necessary bureau that will never have to really work at its existence. You're always going to need officers on the streets, going to calls for service and so on. That's kind of the bread and butter of a police department. So there are many other tasks my bureau does, but in order to remain a bureau of its own, there are smaller areas that were overtaken to make sure I could increase my size and stay in place rather than get swallowed up by operations. And now we've come to the end of my presentation. Here are my references for this week, and thank you for watching. Farewell.